The 2025 NFL regular season is complete, which means the playoffs are set. It was a fantastic Sunday night football game. Ravens and Steelers. People are, why would they make the Ravens and Steelers the final game? Loser out, winner to the playoffs. That's a fun storyline. It was a classic. One of the craziest games in recent memory, no question. These are the matchups, though. Texans at the Steelers, who, of course, end up winning the AFC North. Bills at Jaguars. To me, this is going to be the game of the weekend. These are two really, really exciting teams. The Jags are on such an upward trajectory right now. And also, for some reason, I feel like we've seen a lot of good Bills-Jags playoff games. And then the Jags have made the playoffs, it feels like, so few times here in recent memory. Chargers going to New England. That'll be an interesting one. And that's a pretty good 7 seed against an interesting 2 seed. We'll talk about that more in a minute. On the other side, we have the NFC. Rams going to Charlotte to take on the Carolina Panthers. The Niners going into Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. And then the Green Bay Packers to take on the Bears. Let's go ahead and jump into it, because these games, I feel like, are going to be really, really tough to predict. It's wide open. And why is it wide open? Well, it's wide open because there are so many good teams in the NFC. It feels like anybody could beat anybody. That is very clearly the talent in the playoffs here is in the NFC. And the AFC also feels wide open because there are teams that are playing games, and they're maybe not as good as the NFC teams, but they've got a chance just like everybody else. So it'll be interesting to see, and I'm going to do my picks here in real time, starting out with the Texans and Steelers, and I'm not going to make you guys wait for too long. I'm going to take the Texans here because I think the Texans probably have the best defense here in the playoffs. It's an electric unit with a great pass rush, obviously led by Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. That is one of the best edge rush duos we've seen on any team in recent memory. Really, really good players. Obviously, the secondary, awesome as well when everybody's healthy, with Derek Stingley Jr. and Kamari Lassiter and Kalen Bullock and Jalen Petrie. This is a really, really good team, and I like CJ Stroud. I've seen Texans fans that are kind of over him, but I feel like he's done pretty well with a not-so-great offensive line. They played better down the stretch here, no question, and it's not like the receiving core is anything special with the amount of injuries they've dealt with over the past couple of seasons. But again, like a healthy Nico Collins, health is going to be the big thing for a lot of these teams, especially as we get deeper and deeper into the season. I like this Texans team. The Steelers kind of limp into the playoffs. They do have home field advantage, which you cannot discount, but I just think the Texans defense is going to be too much, and I think that offense is going to be able to score enough points. That'll be an interesting game, though. The Steelers at home is a little bit of a wild card, but I just don't really believe in them so much as a team. As we get to Bills-Jags, it's so tough to bet against Josh Allen. But the Bills, I think, are a little bit of a different team on the road from what I've seen as opposed to at home. It's such a home field advantage for Buffalo. Going into Jacksonville, you're not necessarily going to have that. Not that it's not a fan base that doesn't travel well. It's just it's not the same as playing a home game. And in the playoffs, home field advantage matters a lot, in my opinion. I'm going to go ahead and take the Jags in this one. The Jags, again, are on such an upward trajectory. They've got some really, really fun players on defense. And, of course, their offense is kind of on the rise. They trade for Jacoby Myers, and that seems to be the missing piece to unlock them as a team. Obviously, Travis Hunter going down for the year is a really, really big-time injury, even though he wasn't, insanely impactful as a rookie. If Brian Thomas Jr. can start to find it a little bit again, this could be a dangerous offense in the playoffs as well. Trevor Lawrence is playing at a really, really good level. And again, that defense has some playmakers. Devin Lloyd has had an all-pro caliber year. Obviously Josh Hines-Allen is one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL. This will be an interesting team to watch. Chargers and Patriots, the 7 seed against the 2 seed. Obviously with teams getting first round bye, the Broncos in the AFC, and of course the Seahawks in the NFC. This is the best draw you could possibly have as the Patriots, getting the 7 seed. But it's not just any 7 seed. It's the Chargers, who bring back Amarion Hampton. The O-line is dreadful for the Chargers, and they've got Justin Herbert. In my opinion, the most overhated player in the NFL. It really is. Justin Herbert is amazing, and everyone around him stinks. which it seems like it can't be because everyone wants to think it's quarterback wins. It's a quarterback game. And yeah, it's a quarterback-driven league. It's the most important position. It's the toughest position to play, but it's a team game. If your offensive line can't protect, you can only be so effective as a passer. Obviously, if your O-line can't get a push in the run game, your run game's only going to be so good. We're bad. And then the receivers got to be able to get open, got to be able to catch. On the Patriots side of things, I absolutely love Drake May. Now, I've got a pretty good opportunity here to make up for what I said in my Patriots rebuild at the start of the year. I said this team has one of the worst rosters on paper. They just don't have many good players. And I still kind of believe that. Yet, their offense has been incredible. Their defense has been incredible. Their special teams is awesome. What can I attribute this to? Well, one, my QB1, number one player in the draft, Drake May from that class, has been as advertised, even better than I could have predicted. He's maybe going to win the MVP this year, right there with Matthew Stafford, right? That's certainly in play. And then Mike Vrabel, coming into the Patriots, has turned things around. And I think, yes, Vrabel's that good of a head coach, and the coordinators and the staff are that good at their jobs to elevate this team. That's what I think is happening. And also, I got to address the elephant in the room. They really haven't played anybody. And since one fan base is already mad at me for saying that they're not all that good and then they win, 14 games or whatever the Patriots did, I'm going to keep them mad at me. I don't know reason to have two fan bases mad at me. I'm taking the Chargers in this one. I get that teams are different than what they start as. It's a long season. You grow as a team. But we do have to be aware of who the Patriots have played and beat. And yes, you can only play and beat the teams that are on your schedule. So I'm not going to penalize them for beating bad teams. But they lose to the Raiders, who are the worst team in football. They barely beat the Dolphins, who are no good. They lose to the Steelers, crush the Panthers, and then they start to get on a roll. They beat the Bills. That was a huge win in prime time, if I remember correctly. They barely beat the Saints. They beat the Titans. They beat the Browns. They barely beat the Falcons, but barely counts. A win is a win, right? They beat the Bucks, who are maybe not as good as a lot of people thought. They beat the Jets. They beat the Bengals with Joe Flacco, and that was a very close game. Here, my point is just, we don't know if the Patriots are a 14-win team because they're one of the best teams in the league, or if they're a 14-win team because they really played some of the worst teams in the league with backup quarterbacks as well. Marion Hampton didn't play in Week 18. I would have to imagine he's back for the wild card game. This O-line is really, really bad, and that could hold the Chargers back. But part of me also just wants to see Justin Herbert win a playoff game, kind of get that monkey off his back. So I'm picking the Chargers in this one. Over to the NFC. I talked about how important home field was, and then I picked two away teams. And this is, the Chargers, by the way, is a dome team going to a cold weather environment in January. That could be tough, but anyway, I got to back the Chargers in that one. In the NFC, I'm going to pick another away team. I just think the Rams are better. Now, they're on a bit of a bad spell. They lose to the Falcons. They blow a huge lead to Seattle. Maybe not a huge lead, but they blew a lead to Seattle, no question. So it's not, exactly a lot of momentum heading into the playoffs. But they've got maybe the MVP at quarterback in Matt Stafford. Their defense under Chris Shula has been incredible. And I just have to believe he's going to have something up his sleeve here in this wild card game. I just think that pass rush is going to be a little bit too much. And it maybe is more than just I think the Rams are so good. I just think they're going to have a tough time, the Panthers. I think they're going to have a tough time matching up. I just think the Rams are a more talented team, top to bottom. And they're also getting healthy. Devontae Adams should be back. Tyler Higbee should be back. Quentin Lake should be back, who just got extended. And their defenses look different without Quentin Lake. Getting him back, I think, is going to be huge. I just think the Rams are better. I didn't mention much about the Panthers. Bryce Young's a little bit up and down for me. And, I think they've been great, right? I mean, the Panthers came out. They won 8 games this year. That's great. I just don't think they're on the same level as the Rams are. I think they have one of the best defensive backs in football, maybe one of the best defensive players in football in J.C. Horn. But even if you take away one receiver, Puka Nacua, if you can, or Devontae Adams, you have the other guy to worry about. And then they use like 8 tight ends. It's just the Rams are kind of an embarrassment of riches right now. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. And I'm going to be picking another away team. Why? Because I am biased and I hate the Eagles. I'm going to pick the 49ers, another away team, man. I hate the Eagles. And I also don't think the Eagles are really all that good. Home field advantage here matters maybe as much as anywhere. That's going to be a really tough environment to play in. But I think this 49ers team is ready for it. They had a bit of a down year, but they've bounced back in a big way after last season. They won 12 games. I believe in Kyle Shanahan as a head coach. Maybe not the clock management always at the end of games, but I think Brock Purdy has played great when he's been healthy. This 49ers team, I think, is getting momentum at the right time. They're playing good football, even in losses. They're looking pretty good. Although I guess they threw up a bit of a stinker against Seattle, but that Seahawks defense is just different, man. That's really tough. Christian McCaffrey's carrying the ball 20 times a game, catching the ball 10 times a game. If he's healthy, I think the Eagles might have a tough time stopping him. McCaffrey's just on another level. The Eagles are as talented as anybody. I just don't think they're as cohesive a unit as we've seen in the past. There's been some turnover. Lane Johnson struggled to stay healthy this year. Obviously, Jason Kelsey's been gone. And they're just not that same Eagles team. Landon Dickerson's also struggled to stay healthy and been productive. I know he hasn't missed much time, but he's been pretty banged up from what I remember seeing over the course of the season. Lane Johnson is going to be back for this game, though. And the Eagles are a very different team with Lane Johnson. So this one really could go either way. For me, at the end of the day here, I will own up to it. My bias does not allow me to pick Philadelphia. And also, I think the Niners are really talented, too. So, Deommodore Lenoir is playing great. And, I mean, does Jalen Hurts scare you so much as a passer that you're even worried about any of these receivers? I don't know. He's capable of a deep ball here and there. But the down-to-down stuff is a little bit inconsistent for me. And I hate Philadelphia. Did I mention that? The other game here, Packers and Bears. I feel like we've seen this one before. Actually, twice. We have seen the Packers and Bears play recently as well. And those were some really, really good games. This is going to be another game of the weekend type for me. It's the 2 versus the 7, and I don't think that matters even at all. These teams might as well be the same seed. I think they're so close. In both matchups this year, the home team has won. And that's going to be influencing my pick, It's tough to sweep a team in the same season. Obviously, that's not possible here, but, these teams know each other so well, right? Been really, really close matchups. And I think just based on Jordan Love kind of being banged up recently, I just think the Bears will have the advantage here. And the Packers have been up and down this year as well. It might come down to if the Packers can run the ball, the Bears are going to be in trouble. That run defense is really bad, and their pass rush is not very good either. But at the end of the day, I think the offense finds a way to make enough plays to have them win this game. Home field advantage, I'm actually going to pick the home team here in only 2 of 6 instances in the wild card. Maybe that's not that wise. But that would move us to the divisional round of the playoffs, where only 8 teams remain. Starting with the AFC, the Texans-Jags is a really fun matchup. The Texans have won the most recent matchup, and that was with Davis Mills at quarterback, funnily enough, and they lost earlier in the year with CJ Stroud. The Texans, though, have not lost since the Denver game, actually beating Jacksonville on November 9th, kicked off this huge winning streak. And not only have they been tough to beat, they've literally been impossible to beat. But they are not playing great football at this point. They barely beat the Raiders, and they were sleepwalking through that game. I was at the game at Kansas City. It was cold as hell. They found a way to win. It's just that defense is just different. That's what I think is the big story. I think this is going to be a really fun game, and I think the Jags had a great season. I'm going to pick the Texans. I just think that defense is going to be really tough to handle. The Texans are a really talented team, and they might be my number 1 team in the AFC. On the other side of things, Chargers and the Broncos. The Broncos just find a way to win. I mean, they're the 1 seed for a reason, but they have not exactly looked all that dominant at times this year. I mean, they came back down 30 or 31 against the Giants all in the 4th quarter. It was unbelievable. And the Giants suck, but the Broncos found a way to win. That's what good teams do. 32 from the Giants, by the way. But the most they were down was only 19, not quite in the 30s. But this is interesting. I mean, they barely beat the Chiefs, but this was a weird one. Chris Oladokun at quarterback. I don't know what to think of the Broncos, man. They lost to the Chargers earlier in the year, and then when they beat them today, as I record this, it was with Trey Lance at quarterback. So how much can you even buy into that win? Yes, they beat them, but it wasn't the Chargers at full strength. It's not exactly a divisional round preview. So again, it's tough to know what to think of it. I'm going to pick the home team. I'm going with Denver. I don't know how real it is. I'd love to see the Chargers make a run. They might not even be in this position, which means the matchups could be very different, obviously. But I will pick the Broncos to win a playoff game. I like them at home. That defense is phenomenal. And depending on what version of Bo Nix you get, the offense can be a real problem as well. R.J. Harvey's been a beast at times too. I'll take the Broncos. Over in the NFC, Rams and Bears. I think the Rams could reasonably have Caleb Williams in hell with that pass rush. I think that's an option. And I think Chris Shula could make the life of any young quarterback extremely difficult. Caleb Williams would be no exception. But I think the Rams will find a way. Great first year, just like the Jags. Great first year under a new head coach. Ben Johnson's done a tremendous job. Home field advantage could be big here. I just think the Rams are a more complete team. For that reason, it's going to be pretty tough for me to pick against them in this divisional round. And then we have two more NFC West teams to deal with. I tweeted out maybe a month or so ago that I think there will be an NFC West team that wins the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure I said something like that. Maybe I said plays in, but it feels like a pretty distinct possibility that an NFC West team could win the Super Bowl this year. And I think the defense of the Seattle Seahawks is really, really tough to contend with. We see Nick Emanwari play better and better and better every single week. He's been a game changer, game wrecker, even from the slot overhang position. He's kind of playing that Kyle Hamilton role in that Mike McDonald defense. He's been great. And of course, the Seahawks defense has really been great the entire year. You'd like to see Clint Kubiak get the offense going a little bit, but the 49ers pass rush doesn't scare me enough to think that Sam Darnold's really going to have too difficult of a time here. And he struggled in big moments in the playoffs recently. The Rams brutalized him in the game when he was on the Vikings. But I just don't think this 49ers team scares me to the same level, at least with that pass rush. Their leading sackers, Cleveland Ferrell with 4, Bryce Huff with 4, who is definitely a much better pass rusher, but those are what the numbers say. And then Sam Okawanu has 3. It's not exactly a fearsome group. Which brings us to the conference championship round. Will I be right with any of these? We shall see. Broncos and Texans. Broncos again and Seahawks going to get home field advantage throughout the playoffs if they continue to win. Of course, you can't get home field if you lose. That's an important distinction. But I think I'm going to take the Texans. I really believe in them. I think the Texans could make a run to the Super Bowl. I believe in C.J. Stroud and what this offense can do. And the defense, I think, is just great. I think they've got the best defense in the playoffs. I know the Broncos are great. I'm not sleeping on the Broncos defense. They could easily have the best defense in the playoffs as well. They're right in that conversation. I think the Texans are just a bit of a step above. And they're two really, really awesome defenses going at it. I think the offenses for each of these teams are good enough to put up a fight. And I'm interested to see what this game would look like. But I think the Texans in the end edge out Denver, who's been a little bit inconsistent this year, despite the incredible 14 wins. In the NFC, Rams and Seahawks. I feel like we've seen this one recently, because we have. Just talked about it. Rams, of course, blowing a lead to Seattle in the second half. It was a tough one. Rams were in great position to win that game, and Seattle just found a way. They lost to the Rams in a real close one earlier in the year as well, 21-19, and you can see that the point differential in these games, it was 2 points in the Seahawks loss, and it was 1 point in the Seahawks win. The point differential, 1 point towards the Rams for this entire season. This was tough, man. I mean, Seattle won at home, and Seattle lost on the road. They have home field advantage, but This Rams team is still ultra talented. I just think Seattle's playing really good football right now. I'm going with the 1 seed in the NFC and the 5 seed in the AFC. I think the Seahawks edge it out for a Texans-Seahawks Super Bowl. 2 really fun defenses, 2 quarterbacks who I view pretty similarly, although obviously at different stages in their career. Both top draft picks, top 3 picks. I think Darnold was number 3 in 2018. Stroud, obviously number 2. And Will Anderson then was number 3 in that same draft class back in 2023. Could be. I think 2023. That was a fun draft. But this would be a really fun Super Bowl in my opinion. Defense wins championships, and these are arguably the 2 best defenses in the playoffs. Rams are in that conversation. Denver's in that conversation. Right? I mean, really just a lot of good defenses. The Patriots have a really good defense. The Jags have been really effective this year. The Eagles have been really good. But in the end here, picking the Super Bowl winner, man, this is a tough one. It really would be a coin flip for me, which I feel pretty good about. I feels like that'd be a really fun game to watch as a neutral. Super Bowl is in Santa Clara, I believe, Levi Stadium, home of the 49ers. That surely wouldn't matter much. It's going to be only corporate at the Super Bowl anyway. Seattle beat the Texans close earlier in the season, 27-18. And it's tough to sweep a team in a season, go 2-0. For that reason, I'm going to say the Texans avenge that loss, and the Texans are my Super Bowl winner. Man, I don't feel good about these picks, which must mean this is going to go well. These are my playoff predictions. I'm excited to see how wrong and stupid I am. Sure, you guys will remind me in advance, which isn't even really how a reminder works. Or actually, is it exactly how a reminder works? It could be. There's really no way to know. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.